Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Drag List Live. Tonight, we welcome Luke Bogacki, one of the most accomplished sportsman racers in drag racing history. Luke has multiple NHRA World Championships and just scored a historic double IHRA title sweep in 2025. From super comp to super gas dominance to elite level consistency that wins championships, Luke's going to break down what separates great racers from champions. Luke, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Bill, been a while. Thanks for having me back on.
You bet. It's been a while. So January 19th, 2015. So let's look at our watches. We're about 2 weeks away, many years ago.
We're all still here, so life is good.
That's right, exactly. If we can, we don't want to come back to the show and have one of us missing. This is perfect. Well, man, thanks so much for coming on. And I guess let's jump right in and talk about the season. In 2025, you became the first driver in history to win both IHRA Super Series Top and Mod Championship in the same season. Where's that accomplishment rank for you personally? You got a couple of world championships already.
Well, to be fair, nobody could do this for the longest time. Like IHRA had a rule in place where even if you qualified for the Summit Super Series Finals or what ultimately became the World Finals in multiple categories, you had to pick one. And they had reversed that rule within just the last 2 or 3 years. So I was one of the first that got the opportunity to even compete in both classes. And the rumor is that they're altering that rule again for next year. I haven't heard. No, it was kind of funny. The intention for 2025 on our end was to kind of lay low. Our folks at Mosier Engineering were on board with that. We were in the process of building a house, and our boys are back in school and playing every sport. So what little racing we could do last season was basically just at our home track at I-57 drag strip. But the way that the IHRA Summit Super Series is structured, winning the track championship at our home track got us this opportunity to go to World Finals, and obviously we were able to the stars aligned, and we were able to capitalize on that opportunity. So it went from, I was joking about this with the guys at Mosier, it went from a very lay low season to all of a sudden in one weekend we're getting maybe as much attention as we ever had. But as far as where it ranks, I don't know if this is right or wrong. To me, like a season long championship, and to me the height of that is, say, an NHRA World Championship. That ranks a little bit higher for whatever reason. Obviously, in this case, it was a season long goal just to be a part of the World Finals, and it was an awesome experience. But ultimately, winning the championship comes down to one race, and it was cool. But to me, it just doesn't quite have quite the same sense of accomplishment. So if I had to rank them, it would probably be just below the NHRA titles.
Got it. So you didn't have to, with those, you have to go traveling all over. You got to qualify to hit certain races, qualify for nationals, and then make it all happen against folks all over the country.
Yeah, so it's just, and there's lead up to it. I mean, you kind of the last couple of months who's the players are, and there's some tension around it. There's some sleepless nights. Like I said, I feel like there's a little bit. I definitely felt more pressure a year ago chasing the NHRA championship than this IHRA World Finals. The rewards in the end, I get paid better in IHRA. I mean, from a financial standpoint, and it was a really cool experience. But like I say, if I had to weigh them, they're just it's not that they're unequal, they're just different.
Got it. Yeah. Well, walk us through the season. How did you mentioned racing at your home track I-57, and tell us what it takes to make it to the finals in the IHRA. I have to admit I'm not 100% familiar, so looking forward
Yeah,
to get
so
educated.
the IHRA World Finals, there's a few different ways that you could earn a berth, but the simplest, so to speak, is to win the track championship at your home track, right? So every racetrack gets to send one representative per class. You could also get in by winning your division finals, things of that nature, but I actually got in both classes by winning the track championship at I-57. Like I said, that was kind of our focus for the season. It's funny, coming into the year, I thought, oh, this will be like a breath of fresh air without the travel. It'll be less work. And what I realized is I knew the competition level was high regardless of where we race. And I knew from racing at I-57, there's lots of really good racers out there on a weekly basis. But what I underestimated or what I'd forgotten really because we traveled for so many years is that all not traveling meant was a little bit less time on the road.
Mhm.
All of the preparation, all the loading up, all the getting stuff T's crossed and I's dotted, that's all the same. So it wasn't any less work. And I feel like on that end, obviously we had really good equipment, really good parts to depend on, and we came in prepared. Like I think part of winning a track championship is A, committing to it and being there every week. That's probably the biggest thing. And B, we through um, the 3 to 4 cars that we had in competition every week, we never missed a round due to mechanical failure. And
Wow.
when I say that, you asked kind of what the season looked like. It was organized might be too kind a term to just say chaos. Like I want to say organized chaos, but it's probably chaos because at I-57, we probably average 30 to 40 cars in each class. I'm running top and modified. When my wife's there, she's racing top and quick eight if they have quick eight. And we've got 2 boys and junior dragsters. So every 15 minutes, one of us is going down the racetrack, and it's just wide open. So having that level of preparation and having equipment you can depend on is probably even more important in those situations. And like I said, when I look back, that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of.
Well, that's great. I mean, that is organized chaos. Holy cow. But you have to have everything right. So it seems to me you probably have systems in place to make sure that you're on top of all the maintenance and you have everything in the right place at the right time and you're not digging around for tools when you need something right at your fingertips. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, you hit it nail on the head there, Bill. I'm a stickler on preparation. I mean, obviously, that doesn't mean that you're going to eliminate mechanical failure in our game. You know, anything can happen. But to your point, just coming in, knowing that all the race cars are maintained, everything's in as good a position as it can be. All the spares are in the trailer, all the tools are in place, and I'm kind of maniacal. Like the spare parts that we have, like a spare water pump has the right fittings in it. It has the right connector on it, where if we could change it, like everything can be changed as quick as it possibly can. But and in this season, about mid-season, I had Chris Estep had been with us for several years, kind of helping us with the racing operation, and he had gotten another opportunity to take a job. So it was, I want to say it was on me for the second half of the season, but really the hidden gem to this was that my boys really got to step up. And so they really handled the maintenance on their junior dragsters and turning those cars around, and that took a lot of load off me. Plus, it was fun to work with them and watch them learn. So that's definitely been a benefit to our last season.
That's really great. Well, let's go back to the championships from a couple of years ago, about 10 or so, maybe 12. So you've won NHRA World Championships both in Super Comp in 13, Super Gas in 2014. But what did mastering 2 very different disciplines teach you about adaptability as a racer?
Um, so Super Comp and Super Gas are pretty similar classes in terms of class structure. So the mastering of disciplines is probably the biggest difference between those 2 categories is probably physically driving the car in terms of a rear engine long wheelbase dragster versus both of my Super Gas championships came in Corvette Roadsters. And just the way that, like, my strategy is not considerably different between the 2 cars, but the way specifically you approach the finish line is a little different just because you can be really aggressive at the finish line in a dragster and it's kind of hard to get in trouble. In
Right.
something like my Corvette, it's going 170 miles an hour, shorter wheelbase. Charlie Stewart builds amazing race cars. I never had one scare me, but you just approach driving one of those with a little bit more respect. You know, I mean, they can get away from you pretty quickly if you're not paying attention. So, like, say the way that I would hit the brakes in my dragster is not the way that I would ever hit the brakes in my Corvette, and just kind of being mindful of that. I think the biggest challenge to that type of racing, because when I think of, you know, you'd said different disciplines, it's not so much a difference in the 90 categories or a difference even between, say, IHRA competition and NHRA competition. For me, the biggest change is, say, like a national event type structure, or in this day and age, the big dollar bracket races are similar because there's so many cars and rounds are so spread out.
Right.
Like your ET finals are going to have a similar feel. When you juxtapose that to, say, a regular Saturday night at I-57 as an example, on a regular Saturday night, like I may make 5 runs in 2.5 hours. And if things are I'm seeing win lights, it's kind of relatively easy to get into a rhythm and you kind of allow that momentum and that confidence to snowball. Whereas in national event competition or those, mega bracket races where there's 600, 800 cars and there may be 6-8 rounds between, or 6-8 hours between rounds, then there is no such thing as momentum. You've got to be able to kind of reset. And I used to hate that. And I think most bracket racers, when they go into that realm, it's kind of disconcerting. I've grown to really enjoy it because when things get so spread out, I think that little things like preparation, like experience, and certainly confidence and the ability to talk yourself into a round when nobody has a lot of data, I think those kind of become the more deciding factors. And personally, I enjoy the kind of mental challenge of that. But that's definitely the biggest difference for me is I think it's two separate mindsets when you can kind of get in a rhythm and then when you have to kind of feel like you start fresh for each round.
Really great. Folks, we're here with champion racer Luke Bogacki. Be sure to like, share, and follow. Get your questions ready for the Q&A with John coming up in about 18 minutes. Luke, your 2015 Brainerd Super Comp win is still talked about. I mean, .011 spread to the 60-foot clocks and .014 average reaction times. What does it take to maintain that level of precision under pressure? You probably just covered a little bit of it, but
Yeah, so it's funny, think back to, obviously that's a little over 10 years ago now. I don't remember a ton about the weekend. I remember racing Gary Stinnett in the final because that's one of those, the feathers in the cap that you don't soon forget. The biggest thing as I look back from that weekend, because that was coming off of the back-to-back championships and Super Comp in 13 and Super Gas in 14. But up until that point, my 2015 season had been a miserable year. And I actually remember we went straight to Brainerd from double divisional in Topeka. And I had lost early in Topeka, and I think I did something boneheaded when I lost. I was really down on myself. I remember calling Tommy Phillips on my way to Brainerd, and I'm like, I don't feel like I should hang up for the season. Like I can't do anything right. And Tommy has always been a bit of a mentor to me. And the message was basically like, you're a couple thousandths away, like just keep swinging, the typical pep talk that I would give, somebody today. And at Brainerd, it all not only fell into place, but that actually catalyzed, I would say, the most memorable run of my career. We left Brainerd where I won Super Comp. The next weekend was the Division III Lucas Oil Series race at Bowling Green. I won Super Comp there. The next weekend was Indy. I won Super Comp there. We took about a month later was the national event in St. Louis, which is basically our home national event. I won Super Comp there. By the time that it was all done, it was 29 consecutive NHRA Super Comp round wins, which is insane. And when it ended, I think it was third round at Dallas the week after St. Louis, and it ended with the rods hanging out. So that's what stopped it. But to look back on that, you just say that out loud and it seems crazy. To live it was pretty neat to string it together like that, especially gratifying for how bad the season had been coming into Brainerd for sure.
You found your groove.
Yeah, I'd been saving up win lights all year. It was time to let them out, right?
There you go. It's got like me and my hair. I used it all up early now.
I got the same problem though.
Well, Luke, let's talk about so folks out there trying to improve their racing operations. Kind of a learning question for sportsman racers listening right now. What's the single most important habit they can adopt to improve consistency at the tree?
Ooh, on the starting line, for me, and this is probably a little bit different for everybody. I am such a creature of habit. For me personally, and what I would advocate for more than anything, the biggest key to consistency on the starting line is a dedicated, positive, regimented routine. Just basically, like I always joke that if you started a stopwatch from the time that the water box man says, start your burnout, until the time that I pre-stage, like I think every round's within a second or two, right? Because I do the same things in the same order. And I think even perhaps more importantly than that is I do the same thing like at home on the practice tree, not necessarily from the burnout, but the last motions of staging. Like I go through a verbal cadence and it kind of triggers some physical actions in the same order every single time. And there is just I'm a big reader. There's a book by a sports psychologist called named the author is Dr. Bob Rotella. The book is How Champions Think, and he equates his main focus has always been on golf, but I would equate this to standing over a putt, to standing at a free throw line. I think those are very similar elements to hitting the tree. Like it's kind of a fixed situation. It's the same thing time after time after time. And you have to be really, really precise with it. And within that, the wordage that Rotella uses, train it and trust it. And meaning that the more reps you put in, the more you kind of take the conscious mind out of the equation and you just kind of fall back to your training. And that's very much how I feel on the starting line. And it's all kind of brought on by that routine. And I feel like the repetition of that and the comfort of that makes every run feel the same, or at least feel like you've done it before, whether that's, Thursday night test and tune or the semifinals of the U.S. Nationals. Like there's a piece that comes with just doing the same thing time and time again that I find really valuable.
And that's so great. That's awesome stuff. Take it away, folks. There's your secret. Something to work towards, muscle memory. Um, Luke, you've had success across NHRA and IHRA now. Of course, IHRA has sort of had four different flavors over the last several years. But what are the biggest mindset or strategy differences racers need to understand when competing in both organizations? Are there any, to your mind?
I think it kind of depends on the class and the style of competition more. Like I don't know if you were to go from a NHRA national event to the IHRA, I think they call it the Nitro Jam series now. Like I think that's pretty similar. And say an NHRA bracket finals to an IHRA bracket finals is pretty similar. I think that the difference comes in, like I said before, racing on a given Saturday night versus a more strung out race. And I think that there's some nuance to, say, a bottom bulb 8th mile class versus a top bulb quarter mile class and things like that. But that's more strategic than it is anything specifically different between the two sanctioning bodies or organizations, at least in my opinion. At least for the class. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, that kind of pops a question up in my mind. Have you ever raced foot brake? Like what some folks call heavy eliminator, and it's called different things, different places.
I grew up a foot breaker, right? A foot swapper, if you will. And over the years, in the no box or modified classes, I took advantage of being able to use a trans brake and a two-step off the bottom bulb. But for whatever reason, I never the idea that a trans brake bottom bulb car is like inherently more competitive than swapping feet, I kind of disagree with. But at our home track, they've kind of done away with the class in recent years. But at I-57, they used to run 3 classes every Saturday night in my Vega. They had a top bulb super pro class. They had a pro class where trans brakes were allowed, but the lay boxes weren't. And then they had a foot brake only class. And I would do all 3. And you could look back at the end of the season and I could compare all of my pro, trans brake bottom bulb passes to my foot brake passes. And there wasn't much difference. Like I'm not the greatest bottom bulb racer in the world. I would never claim to be, but I'm equally bad swapping feet as I was letting go of a button. So for whatever reason, a few years back, I developed this kind of hitching my giddy up, if you will, like letting go of a long throw button. It's almost like I would go to react and something subconsciously, I'd be halfway off the button, then subconsciously be like, no, that's too early. And I'd kind of like double clutch it and push it back in and I'd be 70 or 80 or something awful. For whatever reason, my foot doesn't have that same twitch. So I just went back to foot braking all the time. And in fact, even at the all season and at the IHRA World Finals, I was in the modified class where trans brakes are allowed, but I was still swapping feet. So yeah, I'm still a foot breaker at heart.
Love it. Well, folks, we're here with champion racer Luke Bogacki, who's still a foot breaker at heart. Be sure to like, share, and follow, and get your questions ready coming up in about 10 minutes for the Q&A with John. Luke, in 2024, let's talk about the one that got away, maybe. You were deep into another NHRA title fight all the way to the end. And tell us about what that's like towards the end of a championship late in the season. And what do you change any way that you race? It sounds like maybe you don't, but
You try not to, but I think it's for whatever reason, and I tried to touch on it before, but I don't think I can really articulate it. The NHRA World Championship, and I guess it's because it's season long and it's all across the country, and it's just you commit so much time, energy, resources to chasing it that you would think, like, I've won 3 of them, right? But each time that I won, it was over in like September, October. Like it was never close. I've lost, probably, I say lost, like I've finished in the top 3, I think 5 or 6 times. Every time it's been close, I've come out on the bottom end. And it's but you would think going through all of that experience, like I should know what to expect. And so I'm almost, ashamed's not the right word, but it's kind of funny to admit. It's like all consuming to be in, and you can't function, like you can't think about everyday life, like it just pops up in everything that you do. So it's difficult to get away from. Now, that said, that 24 chase was the first time in a lot of years that I part by planning, part by just necessity in life, I ended up, my last 3 races that count were the last 3 races of the year, right? So I did Vegas, Pomona, which is the coolest experience ever, even though I didn't finish on top. Like I'm to that point in my career, and I don't think I would have said this 15, 20 years ago, but nowadays, when I stage up or pull into the water for rounds that matter, like I still get the bubble guts, right? Like I don't think that ever goes away. And where at one point in my career, I would try to kind of push that down, like, oh, that's pressure. Like, I don't want to feel that. Now it's like, oh, like, I love this. Like, this is the reason that I race. You know, if it didn't matter, why would you be here? And I really kind of lean into it. So I embraced that whole trip. And it was so fun. We went to Pomona, and I was leading coming into Pomona, but there were still 4 of us with a chance to win the world, and we were all still in 3rd round. So we got to do it 3 times. You know what I mean? Like it was just, and the round that I lost was to Valtorres Senior. Well, obviously, we're both in the runnings. He ends up kind of a Cinderella story. Not only he had to win the race to win the championship, he did, but even better, like along the way, he beat 3 of the 4 of us that had a shot, right? So I mean, he earned it all the way. And so, yeah, it's disappointing to not see that win light come on, but just to be a part of that was pretty incredible. You know, I mean, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. If you told me you could go through all of that and not win or sit at home, like I'd go through it 10 times and get my butt kicked every time. Like it was cool to be a part of.
you bet. Yeah, you had to give him his props because I mean he did what he had to do when he had to do it, right? And
Incredible.
wow,
Yeah, it was cool.
wow.
And
Well,
and I even told him after we pulled off the track 3rd round, I shook his hand. I'm like, hey man, I hope you win the whole thing. And that was no disrespect to Keith Mayers or Evan Kowalski or anybody else, but Val is just he's a really cool guy. He's always helped me anytime that I needed it. And he's been at this a long time. And I felt like, hey, this is, if anybody deserves to go win a championship, I feel like anybody that pursues it at that level, like as a racer, you should all feel what that feels like. We should all get that opportunity to feel that at some point in our career. So it was really, as disappointed as I was to not win the championship, I was genuinely happy to see Val get that and experience that moment, because that's as good as it gets.
really great. Well, you're a sportsman racer, and that is sportsmanship, sir. Great to hear it. Well, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but you're known for meticulous preparation. But what's the one area of race day prep that most racers underestimate or sometimes shortcut?
My wife and kids would call that maniacal in my preparation, but yeah, I might even take it a little bit too far. But honestly, the thing that I think is so easy to overlook, and I can be guilty of it myself, but I think most racers take for granted, is our our actual like physical preparation as drivers, and it's simple stuff. I mean, knowing we had a lot of nights at I-57 where it gets hot here in the summer, they'd start real late and we'd race till 2, 3 in the morning. But you knew that coming in, right? So getting like a couple hours extra sleep the night before, sleeping in, like it made a big difference. And on those hot days, just staying hydrated and taking care of yourselves and things that you eat. We spend so much time trying to get the cars ready and time on the practice tree and everything like that. But if we're not putting ourselves as drivers in the best position to take advantage of that, all of that hard work is for naught. So I think it's really easy to overlook, but I think especially I would have laughed if you had told me this in my 20s, but now in my 40s, and I assume it's just going to multiply with age, like actually paying attention to where I'm at physically, I think it makes a pretty significant difference.
And that's fascinating, and of course, it makes sense. But drag racers, at least historically, have not given a lot of credit to that.
100%. But I mean, we play a game where the margins are razor thin and things are decided by a couple thousandths of a second. And anything that we can do to try to bring the best version of ourselves to the starting line, I think can weigh the odds in our favor, certainly.
Well, that's great. And let's talk about driving. So you've been a mentor, you've become a mentor and a coach to many racers. You mentioned one of your mentors. What's the most common mistake you see talented drivers make when trying to move from contender to champion?
I I would say that across the board, we are all too often probably our own worst enemy. And I think the most common mistake is just not allowing ourselves grace. Um, the thing, like you just think about how brutal our sport is. Obviously, the margins are thousandths of a second, oftentimes. And we go to a race where there might be 50, 100, 300, 400 competitors. There's one that's going away happy, and there's 399 that could consider themselves losers, right? And I just think it's so hard to get it right. And at times now it's so competitive that even you don't necessarily have to do anything wrong to get beat. And it's really easy to get down on yourselves. And when we do that, any mistakes that we make tend to compound. So is there value in like, hey, I messed up, own the mistake, see what you can learn from it, get better? Yeah. But I think far too many of us take that too far and really grind ourselves to nothing. Like there's a quote from Dean Smith, the great Carolina Tar Heel coach, and it was something to the effect of if you make winning and losing a matter of life and death, you're going to have a lot of problems. And for one thing, you'll be dead a lot, right? So I think the ability to just kind of move on and say, yeah, I screwed up, and kind of laugh it off, or today wasn't my day, and not necessarily let that impact how we kind of identify with ourselves as racers, or more think in terms of what we're capable of. I think we're all better off if we're able to kind of shrug that off and just go back to, and if you just keep making good runs, eventually the odds fall in your favor.
Outstanding. Well, let me ask you one more question, and then we'll go to John Bachleman and the Dina Parisi chat bleachers. Our friend Dina named him. That's the best name for like an online chat board I've ever heard. But so looking ahead, Luke, what motivates you now? Defending titles, mentoring the next generation, or continuing to chase perfection at the tree?
I I think for me, it's more the mentoring aspect. I've really enjoyed my role as a teacher instructor within This Is Bracket Racing, and now especially a little bit closer to home with my two boys. They're both racing junior dragsters, and they're both my youngest especially, but my oldest too. He's a little bit more of a late bloomer in terms of really catching the bug and the passion. But they're both really passionate about it right now, and just giving them the opportunity and watching them grow and trying to nurture that along the line. Like my oldest started racing juniors, I guess it'll be 4 years in a couple of months. If you had told me 5 years ago, Luke, you're going to go to some junior only races and park your car and watch them, I'm like, the hell I am. Like that does not sound like fun, right? They're some of my favorite races. I'm to the point now where I love racing. I want to compete. We rarely go anywhere where the boys can't race with us. And a lot of times we go where we leave our cars at home and they race. And I never would have anticipated how much I would enjoy that. And even at that, like we've got a young man that's coming to race with us this summer. He's a couple years older than my boys. He kind of mentored them a lot in junior dragsters. He'll be with us perhaps even full time next season. I'm really looking forward to that. He doesn't need me. He's super talented. Like he's going to do great things in our sport, but to be a part of that is really fun. So I think I still love to strap on the helmet. Nothing gives me more of a rush, but I think I'm to that point where I enjoy that mentor aspect, if you will, and watching others come up. I think I enjoy that as much as anything.
Wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. Luke Bogacki giving it back. Let's go to John and the chat bleachers. John, what's going on out there, sir?
Well, I tell you, man, it's real busy here tonight. We're coast to coast, and we're really enjoying your interview, Luke. The Now, I have several questions and several comments, and I thought I'd go ahead and give them to you. Y'all tell me to shut up when I go too far.
Oh, well, let's go a question at a time, and Luke can share his knowledge.
Okay,
Luke, looks like we got you on mute, sir. So let me make sure we got you.
am I muted?
Not you. You're good.
Oh, okay. I'll start with the simple stuff first. Veltman asked, how many championships have you won, Luke?
So on the World Championship side, 3 in NHRA and now the 2 in IHRA. And I think divisionally, we did some IHRA stuff in the early 2000s, and I kind of lost track, but I'm pretty sure I have 9 NHRA division championships, and I want to say maybe 4 IHRA. So it's been a heck of a ride.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Wow.
That's cool. It gets technical here now. Anyway, Rich Panicaro said Luke is one of the best, and we all agree. And Jesse commented when you were talking about how you race every weekend. He said that's a ton of work each weekend. Wow. And Rich Panicaro also asked, how many classes have you run?
I've tried just about everything on the sportsman side. I've never run comp eliminator. I've run top dragster. I don't know that I've actually competed in top sportsman. I've driven a few top sportsman cars, but I don't think I've ever staged for a round of top sportsman, NHRA or IHRA. Obviously, all the 90 classes on both sanctioning bodies, 899, 90, 1090. I've run super stock. I've run stock. So yeah, all the sportsman classes short of comp.
That's awesome, man. And now it gets serious here. Now, Dale Broderick said, if we could ask you how he can improve his times. He said he leaves off a handbrake. He has no trans brake or electronics. And he also told Rich Panicaro, they were discussing this. He said, I do go in last, like you said, but my reaction times still suck. And Rich answered him, and he said, every 100 RPMs is worth 1/10 on the tree.
Well, let's hear from the champ. Luke, what do you think? And by the way, Dale, all of our listeners mostly are racers or heavily involved. So Dale runs a really cool little comp coupe, dragster with a blown Chevy in the front. Very cool stuff. But
yeah, the correlation of RPM to reaction time on almost any car, there's something there. It's going to vary a little bit for every combination. My go-to on our stuff is more like 5,000ths of a second in reaction time per 100 RPM. But I would say the biggest thing, and I'll kind of harken back to routine earlier, especially with the handbrake and that being, it may be very, very typical for you, but it would be abnormal for anyone else. The idea of practice and really building up repetition on the practice tree, I think is invaluable. And at this point, the technology on practice trees has come so far. Like I know it sounds like you're not big on electronics in your race car, but it is typically very, very simple, regardless of your setup, whether it's a foot brake, a hand brake, a trans brake, to actually use Portatree's adapters to basically wire the practice tree into your race car to where you could activate the practice tree with the handbrake and sit in your car and do it. And I think the value of that repetition, not only hitting the tree, but also the physical movements and the physiology involved with hitting the tree in your car, releasing that handbrake, I would advocate for that over anything. Like I think that's where I've made the biggest strides personally. And that's one of the biggest things we advocate within our This is Bracket Racing Elite and This is Bracket Racing Junior community. And I've just seen so many racers make broad strides in a pretty short period of time by kind of dedicating themselves not only to practice, but to making that practice as real life or as lifelike as possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
Amazing. And now let's see. Randy Johnston said that he is not familiar with a bottom bulb run. He asked what that is. And then Jesse came behind him and he said, yes, he would like to know the difference between a top and bottom bulb.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So outside of the super classes, anytime that we bracket race, we're on a 5/10 full tree. So each bulb counts down 1, 2, 3 to the green. And in a bottom bulb category, that's basically just I am holding the foot brake and the gas at a certain RPM as the tree lights down. And when that third or bottom amber comes on, I'm reacting to that by letting go of the foot brake and mashing the gas, right? So that's what I would call bottom bulb racing, or in my case, foot brake racing, as Bill had alluded to earlier. When I run top ET, which at the IHRA World Finals last year, I won in modified, which is a bottom bulb class, and top ET, which is predominantly a top bulb class. When we say top bulb class, delay boxes are allowed. And what a delay box is basically a timer hooked into the trans brake solenoid that allows me to release a button on the flash of the top light on the Christmas tree. And then the delay box holds the car for a set period of time that I've programmed in, and then allows it to release. But physically, a release basically as the green's coming on. But as a driver, I'm reacting to the top light coming on. And most drivers are more consistent with that because there's no rhythm or no cadence, no kind of guessing when the third light's going to come on. You just stare at the top. When it lights, you let go. But that's the two disciplines, right? So top bulb would be utilizing a delay box, reacting to that first flash that you see. Bottom bulb delay boxes are not allowed, and you're just having to physically launch the car kind of in rhythm or cadence with that tree counting down to green.
Outstanding.
That's awesome. Rob McCabe said this is definitely some useful bits to use here on the Drag List YouTube channel for the info for the bracket racers, and we all agree. And thank you for telling us about that, Luke. Appreciate it, man. And we're caught up for the moment on the chat board. So,
all right, awesome, John. Anything from you, sir? You always have a good thought or two. Or you, I would say or you're too busy reading everybody else's stuff. Did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Oh man. No, man, I'm good to go. I'm enthralled by all this. This is one of the greatest drag racing champions of current times, and I'm enjoying all of this. It's great to have you with us, Luke.
Thanks, John. Well, Luke, tell us about your two communities there. One for big guy racers, and one for juniors. Sounds like you're ready to train some folks in your own communities how to do this better.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how things happen. So I had I'll take you back to the origins of this is bracketracing.com. So it's like 2006. Yeah, about 20 years ago. I'm in my mid-20s, and a buddy of mine by the name of Blake Allen. I grew up racing with Blake. He's out of the Oklahoma area. And he calls me. He's like, "Hey, you ever thought about putting on a driving school?" And I'm like, "No. Like, who would want to listen to me talk about racing?" And he's like, "Well, I think you're underselling yourself. I think there'd be some interest." I'm like, "No, I don't think so." He calls me back like a month later. He's, "You give any more thought to that driving school thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think that's me, man. I just not confident. Like, I'm young. I've raced. I've had some success, but it just didn't seem like a natural fit." Well, this conversation goes on 2, 3 times, and finally he calls me one day and he's like, "Hey, listen, I've got 12 guys together. They've paid me. You just got to come on and put on the school." And at that time, whatever the amount of money he was offering, I was like, "Wow, I can't turn that down, right? So I guess I'm going to be a teacher." And I went into that, it was at Mocan Dragway. Again, I think it was 2006. I could tell you, I guarantee you I could name off 9 or 10 of the 12 people in that class to this day. And I came in so nervous and so, I mean, because I'm talking to people that are twice my age, they've raced for longer than I have. But what I didn't realize is like they all came into it with the same passion that I have and the genuine want to pick up on something that would help them improve. And that weekend, like it changed my life. It was the coolest thing I'd ever been involved in. You know, I mean, to see the majority of those individuals, whether they'd been racing for 6 months or in some cases 30 years, legitimately like grow and make strides and maybe approach things in a little bit different way was the coolest thing I'd ever been a part of. And so that turned into doing more schools like that. And then we kind of challenged ourselves, like, how could we scale this and reach more people? And obviously the internet kind of allowed us to do that. And that was the inception of thisisbracketracing.com. Well, fast forward several years, we're actually in our 10-year anniversary this year. So it was 2016, we launched This Is Bracket Racing Elite, which is a membership community for big car drivers. And we kind of tapped into a market that I didn't realize existed. You know, I mean, obviously there's been some turnover, but at this point we've helped thousands of racers, right, hands-on in all forms of sportsman drag racing. And that led us to, it'd be 3 years ago in January, we launched, basically prompted by my oldest son starting to race juniors and getting into that community. We launched the junior dragster version of that. And This Is Bracket Racing Junior, which has been a huge learning curve. It's been a whole lot more work than any of us realized coming in, but it's been really cool. It's been good for us, and it's been one of the more gratifying things that we've ever done. Working with that next generation has been a lot of fun.
That's really amazing, and I'm very impressed by the racers that came into your initial school and the ones that keep coming. Because you got to come as a, sometimes we older guys tend to feel like we know everything, and to put that aside and to come as an apprentice to a younger person speaks a lot for their character.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's especially at our live schools. Like we try to emulate it online, but our live schools, I'll tell you right now, Bill, if you came to our live school, I'm gonna go the Bobby Knight approach. Like I'm gonna break you down to build you up in the course of like 2 or 3 days. So there's definitely gonna be some challenge to, your tried and true principles, so to speak. And the way that the vast majority of people I've worked with have responded to that, it does. There's a lot of humility and character that comes into allowing yourself to improve, probably at anything, right? But especially in what I'm used to. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of, I won't say bad habits, but a lot of habits that people have formed over decades, right? That, breaking them down, as you say, you have to build it back up a certain way. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's the refreshing thing about working with the kids in junior, especially the younger kids, is you just come in with a blank sheet of paper, right? And there's not much there in terms of talent or understanding, but like they're just sponges, and you're not trying to break down any of those, like you said, whether they're bad or just old habits. Like you're not trying to retrain anything. You start from scratch, and that's really fun to watch because it happens so quick.
Right.
But yeah.
Little sponges.
Yes.
So great. Well, Luke, let me give you a second here to holler at some of the folks who've helped you out there, either sponsors or partners or other folks who've participated and helped you out.
Yeah, no, for us it starts with family for sure. My wife Jessica, like I don't know where I would be if our paths hadn't crossed when they did. Like my life has taken a constant upward trajectory since we just celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary, and we've been together about 17 years. Like it's just amazing what we've done together and how much better she's made me and made me look. And then my boys now too, like I said, their passion for racing specifically is kind of rekindled mine, and that's been a ton of fun. Obviously, our friends at Mosier Engineering have been pivotal. They've been on board with us now for longer than I think. I guess we started that relationship in 22, so this will be our 5th season together. Wow, it seems like it was yesterday. They're probably the key to our program, and then I could list off forever, like Bill Taylor and Enterprises BT. They've been with us for 25 years. We've been on Mickey Thompson tires since I was a teenager. But every product you see, every decal you see on our cars there for a reason, and that reason is because at this point in my career, like I just don't have the time to waste. Like there's nothing that we bolt on our cars that I don't think is the best product out there. And that's the sole reason that we're running it. But all of those companies definitely fall into that mode. So yeah, that's the biggest for me: family, Mosier, and all of our partners.
I love that's great. John, any final late breaking questions from the chat bleachers?
We are caught up for the moment. Dale just said he's going to see y'all at the U.S. Nationals. He'll be there at the Nitro Mall. So look for Dale Broad. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, I don't know if you were there at the time, Luke. He's the one that announced their engagement on the big screen there at Indy a couple of years
Oh,
ago. Dale
wow.
and Lisa.
Awesome.
Randy Johnson also said that he likes the bottom bulb idea, and he said that we're old school, no electronics, and
Yeah, no, I think most of us traditionally think of that as more driving the race car, right? Like you regardless of how you do it, ultimately the driver controls everything, but like there's no real aids to bottom bulb racing. It's really mano a mano at that point.
right, right, man.
Fantastic. Well, Luke Bogacki, thank you so much for joining us. You're amazing. What a clinic you put on tonight. Thank you. Speaking of which, can you one more time give us the URL for where folks are you accepting new members if they want to sign up? Is that somewhere they can come and join up, or how does that work?
We actually just closed our enrollment period within This is Bracket Racing Elite, so we won't open that back up until probably June or July. We are about to accept new members in This is Bracket Racing Junior, and even when it's not an enrollment period, we've got several courses and things like that available that if you're interested in improving as a racer, I have no doubt that we have something that'll help you. But you can find all of that at thisisbracketracing.com.
Great. Thank you so much. And what an awesome evening it's been. Thank you for joining us
Yes.
once again, for coming back. And congrats on what you did in 25 and good luck in 26.
Well, thank you, Bill, John. I appreciate you guys having me on. I love the opportunity, and you guys are great. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Bogacki, 5-time champion, world champion, and many more to go. Have a great night, sir. Bye. All
Thanks,
right.
Sandy.
We'll say farewell to Luke and turn it over to JB for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, take it away, sir.
Thanks, VP. My pick for Racer of the Week is Jesse Veltman from Crystal River, Florida. Jesse's on our chat board tonight. He joined us for the show. And Jesse's 2008 Ford Crown Vic, which the class he races in is also called Crown Vic. They have Crown Vic Oval and Crown Vic Figure 8, and Jesse is a champion in them both. Jesse's a third-generation driver that started driving in 2007 as a freshman in high school at 14 years old. He won the 5th race he ever ran. He raced on and off for a few years up until 2020 when he took off full time. In 2021, Jesse won the track championship at Citrus County Speedway in the Crown Vic Oval division. In 2024, it was his most wins in a single season ever, with 9 feature wins. Last season, he was able to win 8 races in the 2025 Showtime Speedway Crown Vic Figure 8 Championship. That one was really cool to Jesse because his family has won 10 championships combined, but no one has ever won on the Figure 8 or a championship on it except for him. He started on the oval and didn't try to race Figure 8 until 2020 and quickly found it was his favorite as he won on his second try. As of now, up-to-date Jesse has 43 career wins and 2 championships at 2 different tracks, Citrus County Speedway and Showtime Speedway in Florida. Jesse told me he's had a ton of help through his career with people giving him rides and allowing him to progress himself as a driver. He would like to send a special thank you to Charles Franklin and the Ashley family for their immense support over the last few years. And of course, his girlfriend, Jessica Canaris, who is his biggest fan and supporter. It was from my work in featuring Jessica as Racer of the Week on the December the 29th show that I found Jessie. This couple has mutual respect and support between them. They are both successful in their chosen fields of racing, but Jesse told me last week that from having been involved in Jessica's racing, he is now considering going drag racing soon. That brings me to the final part of this segment. I've featured all kinds of racers over the years, from street rods to NASCAR drivers, Top Fuel to dirt track micro minis, land speed record cars to junior dragsters, pretty much everything and everybody. The way I see it, folks, a racer is a racer, no matter what they're driving. If they're good and dedicated to the category of motorsports they have chosen to compete in, that I'm behind them 100% and I'm to feature them. And Jesse, your story is an inspiration to me. You're in a special place with Jessica. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. We'll see you all next time. God bless America. Back to you, VP.
Thank you, John. Oh my gosh, great stuff there. Um, Speaking of one of our other members of our team, I wanted to say a little bit of a shout out from Miss K. She sent me a note just before the show, said, "Hey BP, just wanted to wish you a great show tonight. I will be on an airplane headed back to Salt Lake City and won't be able to tune in. Give our friends who tune in some Miss K love. I'll be sharing more from Grand National Roadster Show soon." And I don't know if you folks have been checking out Facebook over this last week, but oh my gosh, Kay and Nitro Alley and others are sending great snippets of data over to us with great shout outs from some super folks. So thanks to Miss Kay, thanks to Nitro Alley, and great stuff. Yeah, check out the Facebook page for the drag racing list and all kinds of cool things, including interviews with Mike Rice and many others, and a great Cackle Fest fire up, which is very touching. Because the lady got a chance to take a a seat in a Top Fuel dragster, and in memory of some of her loved ones that she's lost. But Kay out there, with a heart as big as Salt Lake City, taking great care of us. Thank you, my friend, and fly safely tonight, and we'll catch up with you soon. Um, Let's check out an upcoming guest, thanks to Miss K and others. Coming up next Monday night, Vito Micholo from the Nostalgia Pro Modified Association. If you like fast door cars with a little bit of nostalgia to them, which is like, where we grew up with them in the 80s, what was old is new again. Looking forward to talking to Vito on February 9th. And then coming up on February 23rd, folks, the great Animal Jim Foyer, Pro Mod Superstar, is going to be joining us. And then into March, McKenna Bold, Top Alcohol Dragster. But lots and more racers coming up in March. We'll start announcing them pretty soon. Let's go over to those we lost. We only have one person to mention this week, but it's a family member, kind of. Our friends at Competition Plus let us know that they lost their staff member and photographer, Chris Haverly, on January 29th. Chris was more than a fixture at the racetrack. He was a quiet force for good, dedicating his life to drag racing and rescuing animals who had nowhere else to turn. His kindness, selflessness, and passion left a lasting mark on everyone who knew him. And take it from me, lots and lots of online love for Chris Haverly this week from everybody who knew him. Our condolences to Chris's family and friends, and thanks for the great shots over the years. But Chris Haverly passing away on January 29th. And then with that, we're at a wrap. John, what are your thoughts, sir, on the show as we say farewell?
Well, Luke Bogacki gave us just an absolutely fantastic interview, and the racers that were here tonight and the people that were on the chat board were all completely wrapped up in everything he had to say, because this guy is a true champion, and everybody wants to win, and they all had a lot of great questions for him, and he answered them. he's just a terrific person. And I can't thank Kay enough for getting him for us on this show. In fact, our racer of the week, Jesse Veltman, his connection with Jessica Canaris goes back to Kay. It was
Wow.
Kay that recommended Jessica, and then I found Jesse from featuring Jessica. So, you know, we're we appreciate you, Kay. You're doing a great job for us, and Luke, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I could still be sitting here listening to you, and I'm sure everybody had more questions than that they were able to squeeze in tonight. But you gave us a great show, and we appreciate you.
He is great. He's a natural born teacher, isn't he? He's so
Yeah,
technical and but able to break it down with
yes,
the,
he
the
is.
the Richard Fenneman process. Great professor. If you can't make it simple and can't make it understood, you don't know it well enough. And Luke certainly did. So we do want to thank Luke Bogacki, and he was amazing. Thank you, John Bachman, my brother, Kay Turkelson, Pete Moriello, Rob McCabe, firing up the list, David Oakes, Mel Bashore, Ron Toombs, John Mernon II, who's doing great things with the photos. And I want to welcome to our ongoing drag list editors, Dave Wislowski, who's one of the greatest video um, archivists of drag racing over the years. But Dave started jumping into the lists and making some awesome updates from early IHRA action. So very, very excited to have Dave on board. Also, thanks to Jeff Gilder, who got us our start back in 2010 with Racers Reunion Radio. And of course, thanks in heaven to Danny White, the big man. We love you, brother. Also, by the way, Barb Santucci had her birthday in heaven this last week. So thank you to our dear friend Barb. Um, Folks, please like, please share, please subscribe. The little button at the bottom, the little logo, if you will click that bad boy and help us subscribe and grow the channel. You can find us also on the Radio Bob Network, which showcases our shows. Thanks to Radio Bob. Check in at draglist.com every day to see what's new. We post daily. And finally, let's say farewell and see you on February 9th, next Monday night, from Vito Macholo from the Nostalgia Pro Mod Association. Folks, it's been a blast. This has really been a super show, and Luke did a great job for us. And thank you, John. Thank you, Kay, and thanks everybody. Have a wonderful week. Stay warm out there. It's still frozen over here on the East Coast, believe it or not. I don't know if we're going to get a thaw or not, but you know what? We're going to stay inside and stay snug and warm. Have an awesome week, folks. We'll see you next Monday night. Bye bye.